Welcome to the Worship Lounge. I'm the Reverend Scott Denman. I'm the rector of St. John's Episcopal Church in Oakland, not in Washington. And uh, I am delighted to welcome Mary Lim-Lampe, the Executive Director of Genesis. Genesis is a regional community organizing effort to bring together community groups, efforts, congregations to work on issues of justice. And we're especially interested because St. John's is a co-founder of Genesis. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this sort of content. The world is upside down now, so I'm really pleased that we're able to reach people in this kind of way. And who knew, a few months ago that we would be doing YouTube videos. So it's awesome.
Really, especially me. So why is community organizing so important to you, and why do you think the church should be community organizing? Why is it important for congregations?
I think that, well, first of all, I am a person of faith, and I have been all my life. And community organizing for me has been a way to animate my faith and see my faith and my values expressed in the world. I think that I'm also a parent. I'm a mother of a very mouthy, fierce 14-year-old. And it's important for me to model for her and for all of her friends and all youth that we have to do what we can to change the world and change policies. For right now, for this moment, it has provided me a great outlet for what is in a very overwhelming situation. So thank God for organizing because it feeds me spiritually. And, your second part of your question is really important because for close to 13 years now, I've been a faith-based organizer working mostly with congregations and different institutions that provide the spiritual care for others. And organizing for me is just is one of the ways that we can animate our faith in the world. I know that the church is important to me. The church has been a great place for solace and comfort and tradition. And I want us to find ways as a church to animate the imagination, especially of young people, so that they can see church as a way and a place of action, a place of change, a place of prophecy, like just being prophetic voices. So, yeah.
Do you have a favorite moment or incident or story that working especially in the Bay Area?
I think that I have so many favorite moments, but I was reflecting on 2012, which was a pretty devastating loss for Genesis. We had pushed on a campaign called Measure B1 that would provide funding for a free youth bus pass, and we lost by close to 700 votes, approximately 671 votes. And why that was my favorite, because then 2 years later in 2014, we pushed on Measure BB, which was the same measure. We learned so much from the first campaign. And that's why it was my favorite, because obviously it's great to win. It's great to get a 70% yes vote in a huge county like Alameda County. It's great to get $15 million for free youth bus passes for Alameda County, which is a program that continues today and is expanding. I think that we learned so much from the first campaign, and we learned from our losses. And so for me as an organizer, that was a great moment, and just how we stuck together throughout, and we made sure that our voices were heard the second time around with the consultants and campaign staff, that the people who are affected, the youth, needed to be at the center of the narrative around the campaign. And that wouldn't have happened without the loss.
Yeah. So tell us about the current campaign.
Yeah, we can't talk about the current campaign without talking about Black Lives Matters. The current campaign is focused on saving public transit, but as we speak, I can feel this is a week of action for Black Lives Matters, and I myself brought my daughter to a march on Monday, and there was a ton of peaceful, amazing unity and an expression of what it means to be an ally to our brothers and sisters who identify as Black, and especially those humans who are parents who parent Black men and women. So a lot of our current campaign has to do with that. So I just want to name that. Um, Public transit has always been a key issue for Genesis, and public transit companies do not have a margin to handle a pandemic. So if the ridership goes down for a month or 2 months or 3 months or forever how long it's going to go down, and if there's no fares coming in, the public transit system could fall off a cliff. And so what we are doing right now is working to push on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, which is the regional government that is over billions of dollars of our tax money for transportation. We're pushing on a couple of the commissioners to make sure that personal protective equipment can be paid for by the federal money, so that the health of workers and riders is number one, is goal number one.
Hmm. So, how's it going? I want to, it reminds me of one of your favorite phrases. Is it from Gandhi or?
Yeah, it was Gandhi. It was first they laughed at us, then they ignored us, then they fought us, then they won. And
No.
definitely
And
that
then
is
we
a good
won.
quote. And then we won.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
They
really
won.
important. That's really important. Uh, I think that what is important about the MTC is that they are a regional government that is mostly of appointees. So even though they're supposed to represent us, they're not voted in their role. And so it's a little bit tricky. In April, Genesis did a training and we had a bunch of calls made. We were just at the beginning of our campaign to push for PPE, and they mostly ignored us in April. But in May, after a month of calls and lots of public comment and emails and letters from the humans who are probably listening to this, lots of people who paid attention and were activated, May was diametrically opposite. The commissioners talked about, had impassioned comment about how PPE needs to be the number one issue. Everyone except for the chair, Scott Haggerty, who represents our county, Alameda County, he was mostly ambivalent about MTC's role in the safety and wellness of the riders and workers, which was really disappointing. So one of the things that we're asking for are for people to make calls to Scott Haggerty. He represents us as a county. He's over District 1 of Alameda County. And he just needs to hear that we believe that PPE of workers and riders should be priority number one.
And so that information, if you're watching this, you probably clicked a link in our worship lounge, or perhaps on our Friday email, or perhaps on our website. But in each of those locations, you will find directions as to how you can be involved, who to call, what you really need to communicate to them, and or also some emails that you can participate in. So the issue here is involving as many people as we can. People are looking for things to do, and
Yes.
And so you think these will make an impact?
Yes.
Do you think these calls will make an impact? Yeah.
I know they make an impact. I just called one of the second calls that we're asking people to make is I made a call to Commissioner Jim Sparing's office. The calls are definitely making a difference. Commissioner Jim Sparing is the chair of the Blue Ribbon Task Force that is over deciding how to allocate the $500 million in public transit funding that is to be allocated in July. So the staff person who answered the call really appreciated my call. Calls are really impactful. There's many people who are either, like me, people of color who don't identify as Black, or people who identify as white, who are wondering how to be allies right now. Making calls like this is a great way of becoming an ally, because number one, we need lots of communication going to these commissioners. It does make a difference. And the second thing is that, you know, we have the capacity to do that right now because many of us are at home. So why not just take a few seconds and do it?
Right. All right. Well, we'll do that. It's actually a wonderful thing to be empowered to make a difference when we feel so locked down, and to do this as a community of faith, to work in partnership with transit operators, to work in partnership with other congregations and community organizations is such a gift at this time. So I want to thank you, Mary, for your leadership, and thank you for being a part of this worship lounge.
Thank you. This was fun.
Okay. See you on the other side of this.
See you on the other side.